Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and home viewers. Welcome to Westover Inn and Golf Club, site of this year's Youth of the Year speech competition and award ceremony, as sponsored by the Norristown Exchange Club. I'm Mike Hamworth, your host for this evening's program. I would now like to introduce the judging panel, courtesy of Toastmasters International, a public speakers organization. This year's three-member panel is consisting of Mrs. Leslie DeLuca, Mrs. Margaret Evans, and Tony Sicipia. Speaking for all of us, thank you for donating your time and expertise for tonight's program. I would now like the judges to assume their positions for a proper viewing of this year's competition. While the judges are reseating themselves, I would also like to introduce the faculty advisors and administrators representing each of the area high schools. We have with us this evening the principal of Norristown High School, Mr. Barry Spencer. This year's student advisor for Norristown is Mrs. Helen Antonelli. From Bishop Kenrick, we have with us their vice principal, Mr. Joseph McNamara. This year's student advisor for Bishop Kenrick is Sister Mary Moore. Again, I wish to personally thank each of you for helping to organize another successful Youth of the Year competition. I would now like to take a moment to explain the main objectives and benefits involved with the Youth of the Year program. This youth-related Exchange Club activity is created for young people with worthwhile, uplifted incentives, thus providing public recognition to youth displaying superior qualities of leadership, academic skills, and overall personalities conducive to well-rounded educational achievements. By focusing public attention on the worthy achievements of outstanding youth, the Exchange Club can inspire other young individuals to strive for similar recognition. As a result, the program will encourage good citizenship, enthusiasm for worthwhile extracurricular activities, development of well-rounded personalities, the desire for greater scholastic achievement, and the determination to acquire higher education among all the young people in our community. Tonight's program endeavors to stimulate the youth present towards the attainment of their highest goals. Each student involved in this year's program has attained honorable, if not outstanding, status at their respective high schools, and all are respected by their teachers and fellow students. Consequently, there is no real loser from tonight's proceedings. However, like any competition, the selection of a winner and runners-up is a purposeful and satisfying necessity. It is with this in mind that the following format has been adopted for tonight's program. Each student will present a 4 to 5 minute oral speech on a predetermined subject matter and will be judged on all facets of their presentation and content material. Once all students have finished, a tally of the judging ballots will provide for a first, second, and third place finish plus 3 runners-up. The top 3 students will be awarded $175 and $50 savings bonds respectively, with all students receiving Youth of the Year certificates. Each student will be introduced without mention to which school they are attending, for obvious reasons of unbiased judging for each school's participants. Since the students have had time to prepare their speeches on a particular subject matter of my choice, I would now like to share with the audience the presentation subject for this year's student speeches. Using the Exchange Club's Covenant of Service as a guideline, describe how you, the youth of America, can better our nation with the educated intellect you now possess. What do your future endeavors mean to our country, and what do you see in store for all of us as the start of a third millennium approaches? Well, I think it's time I relinquish the floor to our student contestants with a good luck to all our participants in this year's Youth of the Year program. So everybody knows the order of presentation was drawn by lot. So it was just by chance that they have the order that we have arranged for this evening. Introducing our first student participant, Lance Solarioli.
We, the youth of America, can better our nation with the educational intellect we now possess. This can be accomplished by using it to spread patriotism and a stronger sense of brotherhood toward our fellow man. Through the Exchange Club's Covenant of Service, we are given a responsibility to uphold the ideals of society. Being the future generation, we will be the ones building the life in America for our parents and children, as they have done for us. The Covenant of Service calls us to participate in a number of activities which can help our country flourish. The first duty is the consecration of our best energies to the uplifting of social, religious, political, and business ideals. This is a basis that will ultimately cause a finer nation for us. This channeling of our intellect and energy will bring forth newer and better ideals to merge with the older and wiser ideas of society. Reasoning with these ideas will find the solution to many problems, and these solutions will be seen in our everyday life. New ideas are great, but the second duty of the Covenant of Service reminds us not to forget those who came before us. The second duty is the dischargement of the debt owed to those of high and low estates who have served and sacrificed so that the heritage of American citizenship might be ours. We cannot thank them enough for the freedom that as American citizens we have, but we can perform services useful to the community and civil service corps. This duty can become the reason for fulfilling the Covenant of Service, maintaining the stability of their accomplishments for others and the synthesis of their accomplishments into our own. Not only furthers the meaning of the first duty, but also prompts us to acquire an ideal of honor and respect that will influence all who come into contact with us. Having to honor and respect is the main theme of the third duty. This statement means honoring and respecting the law, serving our fellow man, and upholding the ideals and institutions of our country. This is important because the laws are created to give us stability to the chaos all around our lives. If we treat them with disrespect, we're destroying all the others. The laws are made by the people, and by destroying the laws, we are destroying the people. Without people, there is no society. Through active practice of the law, we are serving our fellow men and upholding the ideals and institutions of our country, unless a law goes against the initial ideals of our government. The fourth duty, to implant the life-giving, society-building spirit of service and comradeship in our social and business relationships, is a culmination of the first three duties and smooths the rough edges of the Covenant of Service. It tells us to expand not only our knowledge to others, but also our respect, honor, and pride of our laws and country. We're asked to share with people and to extend a helping hand. This duty should cause others to partake in the covenant of service and the genesis of a brand new society. Ultimately, the last duty may result from the fourth duty, or rather, must result from the fourth duty. This final duty is serving in unity with those seeking better conditions, better understandings, and greater opportunity for all. This pledge of a family is made of more than just relatives. The combined effort of each individual for the same cause will create flexibility, practicality, and a richer meaning of life in America. Using the covenant of service as a guideline through any activity, we can expect our future endeavors to reflect a brighter outcome in life. We, the youth of America, will soon be the politicians, inventors, scientists, and parents of tomorrow. Whatever path we choose to follow in life, we will inevitably affect someone, somewhere else in our country. Our right to vote may even decide whether our country may falter under some alienated cause. We're the only people who will let it die out. I believe with our potential and the potential of the youth in other countries, we can build a world of non-aggression and peace. We can begin to rid the world of competition and see each person as an individual who can donate his best for society. The world would be great if each person would learn to find time to make his world great.
Thank you, Lance. I would now ask the judges to ballot their scores without totaling them and raise their hands when finished. Okay. Next, I would like to introduce Jeff Schmoyer.
The 20th century. It was a century of incredible change, complex technology, bristling with energy, beyond the dreams of these past centuries, beyond men's wildest dreams. Yet man is still basically the same intrinsic person that he was 200 years ago. He is still the simple yet complex character who needs love and many other things. Sitting down to write this speech, I realized that man is a simple creature in a complex age. He needs some sort of guidance, some philosophical and moral background. I see the Exchange Club's covenant of service providing this. Looking at the covenant, I drew an analogy between the way a person might fit into society and something very simple. I decided to draw an analogy between the covenant and a sculling racing team going down the Delaware River on a spring day. Now, if one person were to stand up in that boat and start rocking it, that boat would capsize. I see the world that way. If one single person pushes the button, so to speak, launches a nuclear attack, the entire world will be destroyed. On that boat, each member must work as a team. Each person on that boat is different. He has different strengths, different abilities. But yet they all must work together, and only in working together will they win. It is that way in real life also. Each individual can contribute his or her best to society. The covenant states that we should work in unison and harmony with our fellow brothers and sisters. If those rowers don't work in harmony and row at the same time in the same direction, the boat will not go anywhere. Also, on that boat, they have what's called a coxswain, who leads them and makes sure that they row at the same time. I think that humanity needs a leader, someone to give them guidance, but that leader must be someone who understands the rules and the needs and the complex thing that we call man. Finally, in the covenant, there is a passage stating that we must respect laws. There are laws in a boating race too, and they are designed for giving each participant equality, fairness, and above all, safety. The laws of our country are designed to do this also. They are made by great men to hold up simple ideals. So if that is how we should lead our lives, that led me to the question, how should I lead my own life? I stated in my biography that I didn't have any set career goals. But maybe that's not quite true, because I certainly do have goals. They are first and foremost to be happy when I'm grown up. I might only be a senior in high school, but I've found that the only way to true happiness is to do good to others, to do good things to others. Now, that's an abstract concept. You can look at it simply and obviously to do good, to work with a charity or help a blind lady cross the street. It can be a personal thing. You can sit down with your friend and help them work through a tough problem like a divorce or something. It can be something monumental like the achievements of Dr. Martin Luther King. Or it can be something simple like joining a rowing team and going down the Delaware River. These are all good things, and these are all what makes us truly happy. I think that anyone who pursues a life filled with materialistic goals and trying to get a career that will make more money for him is deluding himself and not looking towards true happiness. I hope to find a career that will let me use my talents to the best of my degrees. But more importantly, I want to find a career that will let me benefit society in the best way that I can. And for that society of my future, the third millennium, the year 2000, I can envision incredible things. I can see world peace. I can see the United States and the Soviet Union coexisting peacefully. There are people just like us over there. I can see cooperation between us to solve the world's problems like world hunger, discrimination. I can see us exploring out into space, finding and researching and using the incredible potential of outer space, using our technology, spreading it all throughout the world. I can see us solving medical problems through this cooperation. And I think most importantly, I can see us spreading education everywhere to all, not just an elite few, but to all the deprived children in Africa and the South American countries who are not well educated. Think of all the latent genius that lies down there, just waiting to be tapped. And imagine the endless possibilities if we could only cooperate. I think that the Exchange Club's covenant of service basically can be summed up in the word cooperation. And I hope that we can all cooperate as we enter the third millennium. Thank you.
Essays themselves.
Judges, your scoring responses, please. Would like to at least take this time to thank Sam Galbraith and Tony Koya for the videotaping of this evening's Youth of the Year competition. Okay. Our next student participant is Chadwick Hart.
Good evening, members of the Exchange Club, distinguished members of the community, and fellow speakers. This evening I would like to take a few minutes of your time to discuss the Exchange Club covenant, the way the knowledge I now possess will help me in the future, and the ways I believe society must change in order for us to move into the third millennium. After reading the Exchange Club's covenant of service, one must be struck by the democratic voice which rings from its spirit. The covenant states that the Exchange Club members are to honor and respect laws and to consecrate their best energies to the uplifting of social, religious, political, and business ideals. These parts of the covenant are both pure in nature and good at the heart. They represent beliefs which must be instilled in the rest of society. Too many people are self-centered and blind to the world around them. We must open our eyes and learn as much as we can about the wonderful world in which we live. To give you an idea of what I am like, I feel that the education that I have received, both from my parents and from my schooling, has helped me to develop into the person that stands before you this evening. My parents have impressed upon me the fact that I should always stand up for my rights and never allow anyone to force me to conform to their beliefs. During the last 13 years of my life, I've had an excellent academic background in school. I have studied both ancient and contemporary worlds, chemistry and biology, geometry and calculus. Participation in a wide variety of co-curricular and extracurricular activities has given me the opportunity to expand my knowledge in various fields. I have taken part and taken advantage of many opportunities that have been presented to me. I wish that everyone could have the chance to experience everything that I have had in the last 4 years of my high school career. Since I was 7 or 8 years old, I've had a keen interest in politics. My parents still tell my friends the story that when I was 5 years old, I walked up to my mother and told her I wanted to be President of the United States. Sometimes I reflect back on this and am amazed to see that the ambitions that I had then are still the same that I have now, almost 13 years later. Last year, I decided to stop dreaming and began working towards my goal of becoming a politician. From January to May of 1986, I had as a mentor State Representative Joseph A. Lassinger and worked in his district office. I spent a big portion of my time simply observing his staff at work, but I did some projects for him. I worked on the drafting of a bill, which is now law, that raised the Pennsylvania Higher Education Assistance Agency maximum grant for the 1986-87 fiscal year. This was the highlight of my mentorship, but there were many other things that I saw, heard, or read which enriched my backgrounds in politics and encouraged me to follow that career. I still hope to one day become president. I haven't ruled out that ambition quite yet, because one thing that I did learn during my mentorship is that this political system can be used for good. I have discovered that there is power in politics, and that this power can be used to change society. We, as a society, are obligated to harness this power and change the basic beliefs, especially those directed towards human rights. As the third millennium approaches, we have to continue to do our best to teach the young how to respect all groups in our society. By doing this properly, we can eliminate all types of bigotry, racism, and any other form of segregation. We must break the chain of racism and eliminate it altogether. Doing this will also lead us into a much happier third millennium. After we address the problem of human rights, we can then bend our efforts toward technology. This evening, I could have discussed computers, medicine, communication, or any other field related to changing technology. But I believe that human rights should be of paramount interest around the world. My main concern is with the plight of human beings. This problem must not only be addressed, but in addition, a comprehensive solution must be found. Then and only then can we really approach the ethics of technology. My life has lasted only 17 years, but the knowledge I have acquired has forced me to look at the world much differently from other people. There is racial and political cynicism all over this country and others. The infringement of basic human rights is a disease which is having an effect worldwide. We, as members of the human race, must join together to wipe out this disease. Along with the other members of my generation, I can hope for 60 or 70 years of time to meet our responsibility to help other members of our society, a responsibility that we all must accept. These problems will soon be our problems, and the solutions will be our solutions. We will live most of our lives in the 21st century, and unless we solve the problems of the 20th century, we cannot fully move into the 21st century. Thank you very much for having me this evening.